formally welcome and formally big round of congratulations to all of you all and even the participants which were in this program. I know we've got a little limited time and we really want to hear from each one of you on every possible question that we can accommodate in this. So um, can I start by, first of all, congratulating each of you? And I think I would really like to, obviously, I know each of you would be great mentors for your teams and for people whom you would interact with. I know a lot of your personal interests also of promoting STEM to youth, women, girls from a leadership perspective. So really, my first question was associated with if you could share some women mentors in your life that you have experienced, and how did you go about establishing those relationships in your journey of them as mentors, and really how did they actually specifically help you in this mentorship that you may have received in your professional career? So if that's really what I wanted to kick this off with. So since we have ABJ on video, before she drops off again, maybe ABJ, can we start with you? Can you hear us, ABJ?
So absolutely, I didn't hear all of the question, and let's keep my fingers crossed that this connection holds, but I believe it was around the mentor and the importance of having a mentor.
Yes, and ABJ, you personally...
I've had many in my career, but some of my most influential have been female mentors. One in particular was Senior Vice President here at Verizon. She's long gone now, but when she came...
Okay, I think we've lost her. So, so I don't want to lose time out here. Carolyn, do you want to pick it up?
Sure. So with 30 years, obviously, in the industry, and especially being in IT, quite honestly, in the early years, it was very hard to have a women mentor. I was, one of very few women that actually went into the IT field. And when I started, I actually was a programmer. So, along the way, though, I can say that the one most influential person that I feel had the most impact on my career and the way that I handle situations and the leadership and the competencies. And she really kind of taught me how to show up every single day, take every opportunity. She made sure that she, expressed that. I had the pleasure of working for her. So I not only got mentored, per se, in a mentee-mentor relationship, I used to get to see her in action every single day. And honestly, I picked up different presentation styles, enabling and understanding the audience. I mean, that was one thing that she really, taught me of how important it is to make sure you get that connection, with your fellow male peers so that they can have something in common with you, that you can also talk about. And it starts and it builds a very, very different relationship. So I can honestly say that, I was able to learn a lot and really, really, really was very impactful.
That's an awesome example, Carolyn. Anna, from your perspective?
Yeah, I would like to share actually two stories about two mentors. The first one, and I think really important one in my life, was actually my mother-in-law. The relationship started when I was 19, and very early in my career, she was simply supporting me very much in all the things I was doing at that time, meaning continue my education, starting my career, and also becoming a mother of two, at this moment, adult men. So that was for me definitely a role model in how you can do all these things at the same time, being a parent, first of all, and most of all. And that's as I said, that's something that I really recommend to all women who are starting their career, to also look for mentors and for role models within their family, because these are the people that we have around us. And the second example or story I would like to share is something I started doing in my mid-30s. I started using the reverse mentoring. Simply reaching out to people who are, just about to graduate. I simply wanted to understand how the next generation think and what I can learn from them, and the things that I needed to know as a leader. So I had a number of women being my reverse mentors, and that was really something that I love doing till now.
Oh, fantastic! I mean, that's a little unique example. I really appreciate it. Teresa, your perspective on this, please.
Yeah, I mean, I thank you, Caroline and Anna, for sharing. Those were really inspirational. I too, like Caroline, have been in IT for 30 years. I've been in that situation where there's 25 men in the room and one woman, me. But I did have some women leaders. I've only had a few, honestly, in my whole IT career. But I could think of one specifically who had no IT background, but she was my manager and got moved in, or leader. And we developed a really great relationship where we found a way to utilize and leverage each other's skills to make a good team. And from that, I learned, it's not about who the leader is or what they know or what they don't know. But it's about surrounding yourself with the right people and leveraging those skills of those to help you grow and help your organization grow. I think one thing is she was a mentor to me, and I used her as a back and forth. But most of my career, I've had men mentors, and more importantly, I've had sponsors. And I think of a sponsor even more than a mentor, because a sponsor is that person who gets you in front of the organization, who respects you, and a conversation comes up where, hey, I know this person here, they'll be a great leader for you. So if I were to think about mentors, sponsors, I think sponsors are just as important as mentors, women or men. But I've learned, and this is through that first woman leader I had, is having a sponsor is just as critical as having a mentor. And she taught me those things, and I've learned also from her. There's the practical things of how to present yourself, as Caroline talked about, how to know your audience, how to sometimes practice that presentation or have notes before you walk in the room. So there's a lot of things I've learned in that way. And then, the other thing was just listening, do a lot of listening and do a lot of learning, and leverage others to help you be better and make them successful. Let them be the ones in the room that talk first, So that's the other thing. So as a woman working in this business, if you were to have a sponsor, and now I've done a lot, like to your point, Anna, is doing that in the opposite. I've been that sponsor for people. I've been coaching them to go in the room. I put all of my team most recently in front of the CIO, and I let them speak and talk about what they do, and that was just the most exciting thing for them, to have that opportunity. So, there's so much there. And for now, I'm at that point of back, to others.
That is absolutely awesome, and as you said, it's the reverse which is taking place in line with whatever you all said. If I may just connect that probably to my next question, while you said a lot of things that how you have gone about getting mentors and how they've helped you, as you look back at this journey, and really as we'll have this more and more exposed to more and more younger women that we reach out to. Can you provide me a little perspective of, as per y'all, what do you believe are some of these typical common but avoidable mistakes that young women end up making, but can clearly be avoided in their early years of their journey towards this whole career progression path of getting to powerful women leadership? Can you provide some advice on that front of what they can avoid in those early days? Anna, we can start from you.
Well, building on what Teresa was saying, I think that still some of the women in their early years of their career underplay the role of mentor and sponsor, and that's really important. And if I was to give one advice, that would be the advice: find a mentor and sponsor who will be your go-to person to consult your ideas. The other, again, something from my personal life, the other example of mistakes is that when you have to do many things as a young woman, being a parent and work and maybe continue education, you should simply ask for help and delegate some of the responsibilities. There is nothing wrong in not being perfect in everything. So that's something that again is another good advice from me that I would like to share with our colleagues starting their career.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Carolyn, something from you on this?
Yeah, I concur with Anna actually, about, being comfortable and confident enough to make those mistakes. But I also would encourage, again, start early, get a mentor as early on in your career as you can, because even early steps, to continue to build on that leadership and to build and learn, more and more, take chances, feel confident to speak up, ask questions, because I do believe that the more that we're able and comfortable to do so, we're definitely get much more opportunity, we get our voice heard, and therefore there's definitely a different I'll say approach of how the males as well as even the female leaders basically engage and interact.
Absolutely. It's a great one, Carolyn. And Teresa, your perspective on this?
Well, I agree with both Carolyn and Anna. Those are great points, and I think that leads on to it. And I'll go with feeding off of what Anna said. I know right now I have some younger women who work for me, and I do find that they try to own everything and do everything, and they're learning that skill of delegation. I think life balance and work balance is important, and I always emphasize that with my team, because having a good balance makes you a better employee, makes you all of these things. So that to me is one thing I really like folks to know. But I also do think, having mentor sponsors is good, but some of it you own. And I know throughout my earlier career, and I do this now, I still continue to take some classes. I might even take a Java class, even though I'm years away from programming, but it keeps me informed. It makes me understand what's changing in the world and what the technology is. So I do a lot of that myself, do a lot of reading, keep myself educated. That male or female, you should do that anyway. So important, continue to learn, continue to grow. And then to Caroline's point, I'm going to add on to that too about speak up and hear your voice. If I was going to go speak to a leader, sometimes I would make little notes to make sure I had what I wanted to say in that meeting and said the right things. Because there are times where you get a little intimidated, or when you're in the room with a bunch of men, take the time to listen, but then write down what you're going to say and make sure you say it. And don't let people overtalk you, and don't let folks not let you be heard, and find a way though to take your style through. Still be authentic, but bring it out. Being your authentic self and having confidence is a big part of, I think, where I got to. And I forward that from my mom and my dad, just teaching me that way, and my brothers and sisters, and having a large family. That's the luck I had, right? And feeling comfortable, So, and if you don't have those skills and you don't feel that way, then go out and take a class where you can learn public speaking and confidence and all those things. So there's a lot. I mean, you own some of it and your mentor and sponsors, but I think it goes all the way, right?
No, great. I think that's phenomenal inputs to the question that was asked. Great inputs from all of y'all. And since I see ABJ has joined, let's hopefully this time we will have you fully here. ABJ, I want to quickly repeat this question so that you have also heard it. And really, it was about, we all know you're highly established, accomplished women leaders. So the question was all about, in your journey, or at least from your perspective, knowing some typical, common, yet avoidable mistakes that younger women in their careers make. Could you kind of give your advice to some of these young women in terms of how can they avoid those common mistakes in the early years?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. And sorry for all the technical difficulties. So I think that the number one mistake that I want to highlight is really taking a back seat and silencing your voice. I did it a lot in my career. And, you know, if I had it to do all over again, I think that I would have shown up in a very different way, in a more assertive way. I think that speaking of my experience, I felt like I wasn't fully prepared. Though as I look back, I know that I was prepared, but I just felt that I wasn't prepared because I wasn't speaking up as much as my male counterparts or just any other people in the, you know, at the table. So that would be one, really using your voice where it makes sense. Not to just be heard, but when you have something to add to the conversation, take the opportunity to use it. So those were two. And then one other one that I think is really important is the difference between being liked and being respected. Right. I think that that's a really huge one. Sometimes early in your career, you're the doer. You want to make sure that you're crossing all of the T's and dotting the I's, and it doesn't always translate into the respect that you're looking for. So those would be my my tips or my missteps earlier in my career.
Sure. I actually, ABJ, it's interesting because your response almost triggered my next question. You kind of answered it already, which is, that was the previous question was looking from your pair of lens, but this is and advising. This is now as looking back in your own career. If you could almost, as you look back, do you think you would do anything differently if you could go back and really restart your career in things which you may not have done? And I think you touched upon that, but do you want to add anything more to what you just said?
The one thing that I would do in addition to those other items would be to move around the business. I've been with Verizon and legacy companies for 25 years, and I've spent 23 of those years in information technology. So I wish that I had taken some time to do stints in marketing or finance or network or somewhere else. I mean, I love the work that I do here, but I just think that, and now, after 25 years here, I'm not trying to go anywhere else. So I sort of missed the bus and the boat and everything else on that one. But when you're younger and you have the roadway or the runway, go out and experience some different things.
Got it. That's a great input from your side, ABJ. Teresa, what about you? I know you anyway have been going through a lot in TiVo-Xperi in the last couple of years. But in general, if you had to reflect back on your own career, what would you do different, if at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I thought about it when you saw that, and I'm like, well, would I do anything different? Well, one thing, I think I would have moved to the West Coast sooner. I actually almost did. It was really interesting. And then I made a different change or decision in my life and stayed on the East Coast. And so that's probably my one personal thing, but I don't, you live where you need to live and find the job you need to not do and what works for you and your family. I don't want to advise jump to the West Coast. That's not my point. It's my personal experience. I do think I would have probably stayed a little bit longer in the deeper technical pieces of IT. I think early in my career, I jumped into the leadership role. Very grateful for that, where I was managing because I had that skill to be able to bridge the gap between the business speak and the IT speak. But I feel like I should have spent more time in the tech, learning the actual technology further. I was programming, I was doing all that, but things have changed so quickly that I've missed the boat on some things. So I have to keep, relearning or relying on trying to figure some things out because I don't have all that knowledge, So that's one thing. And, I'll go to my point earlier on just keeping yourself educated because things do change, right? I worked in a giant computer room where the noise was so unbelievable. And, we were spinning tapes in green bar. And now you don't even have those things around you anymore, right? So that's probably my one thing, is just to figure out how you can get a good rhythm of staying if you continue to go through the IT journey of learning and educating and keeping abreast of the technology and all of that. So
I understand, particularly given in technology, it's ever changing.
yeah.
You have to be probably a step ahead of that change. Anna, your perspective on this?
So I would echo Teresa, because my first job was a network engineer, and that lasted for like 1 year only. So I would have spent much more time in a hands-on technical roles. So that's definitely the one reflection. The other one, I think it's about negotiating much better than I did, expressing your expectations about the career growth, about development aspirations. And now, just thinking about my 20-ish year experience, comparing how men and women do it, I see a difference. So that's not the advice from me. Let's really make sure that we express what we want to achieve, because that's really important.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna, on that. Carolyn, we see you, and hopefully you got that question.
Yeah, I did. I actually agree, with several of the comments that have been said already. One of the things that I wish I could have redone, because again, I have spent my 30 years here at Merck, is the fact that in certain roles, I actually stayed too long. And what happened with that, staying too long in a certain role, I would get the comments, well, of course she does that role. Great. Because she's done it for so long, and it really started to question, my ability to be able to do other things. So I encourage people, after, each, take every opportunity, learn from that, but also make sure that you understand what your next opportunity is going to be and what next role. And sometimes that's not a promotion. Sometimes it's a lateral, and it could be just as impactful. And in my career, I had 2 specific laterals that probably changed my career, and enabled me to get the role that I have today.
That I must say, based on what you just said, Carolyn, I think as I was reflecting on your response, I think by now it's extremely well known that when it comes to multiplexing or multitasking, I mean, women are way ahead of men. And I think we see it now that we are all working in the same home. And that really goes from a change. It probably would be easier for them to manage change, because they anyway go through so much of change culturally also. So should be able to adapt. And so your perspective of probably changing faster than being in one particular role or function is definitely a great input. So thank you for that. And I think on keeping that in mind, if I can quote that, typically most business leaders always have a very winner mindset attitude. So it'll be interesting for me and our audience also to hear, like, typically what's the philosophy that has been used by you, which has helped shape this thinking and kept you motivated to be excelling year over year, particularly in this 20 to 30 year journey that you've been going through, and which has helped you for yourself, and of course also excelling for your organization that you represent, or even the teams that you represent. So I wanted to get your perspective on that. ABJ, we can start with you once again.
Absolutely. So, Carolyn hit the nail on the head with change, and the winner's mindset to me is really, or the way that I've oriented myself is that change energizes us. I work in technology, change is constant, and I wasn't always this way. It took me a while to understand that, today is going to be A, and later today will be B, and I need to be able to quickly adapt to it. So what I've done is really focused on doing my best in the moment, knowing that something new is going to arise, and then quickly pivoting to that new thing. And as I'm saying it out loud, it sounds sort of odd, but to me, it's just easy. It's in my DNA. It's really that whole fail fast mentality, right? Fail fast, pick yourself up. Coupled with that is a little bit of practice makes perfect. You know, after working outages for years and years and years, I'm good at working an outage, right? I'd rather not, but I'm good at working an outage. You know, when we talk about mindset, there's that whole fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And when I think back to being a little kid, I was always one that fell on the growth mindset side of the house. Like, there's nothing I can't accomplish. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and do that. And it was just normal to me. So I don't know if this is something that we're born with, but that's what I've sort of patterned myself after.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, AVG, for that. Teresa, your perspective on this winning?
I'm not even sure I can add to that. She hit all the things I was thinking about, the fail fast and growth mindset, fixed mindset. We all have that same philosophy. So maybe that's what draws us together in this where we are, you know, as leaders. It is something unique to be able to do the multitasking piece. You know, I can remember working at eBay and launching websites, and I worked in the e-commerce, and I'm going to tell you, hundreds of paths that I was running, and we were launching 5 websites, and I can remember running up and down and doing everything, and I totally love that. You know, my energy's up, and I'm going nuts, and you know it's really hard, but you're having fun. So, I think that's a part of it. Love what you do, have fun, be authentic. You know, don't be afraid to fail, and when you do fail, admit it and find a way to fix it. You know, there's everyone, IT's hard, IT's new, IT changes, but you can always get past one issue and the next thing and know, you know, that, but just be honest and authentic, I think, you know.
Okay, cool. Absolutely. Anna, your inputs, any additional inputs on this front?
So what else could I add? Maybe just one little thing. You cannot be a winner if you don't have, you know, team behind you or team actually ahead of you or in front of you. And that's, I think, what the industry calls servant leadership. And well, this is my style, and I really make sure that I serve my team rather than they serving me. So being a good leader, and again, using the collective brain power and making sure that this is a collective success, not I would say me as a winner, but my team and me. Thank you.
Okay, great. You know, I'll throw in a completely different perspective of a question here. Is this, as the saying goes, that, you know, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. So I wanted to get a little personal input from you here, your perspective of people who have played a role in providing you that essential support in this course of your journey to be going far as well as further. Carolyn, we can start with you.
Sure. So again, going back to just some of the principles, that we live by and that I try for, everyone on my team, is that we all kind of follow the same suit in the sense of we all want to leave the situation better than when we started. So that's one of the things that we all agree to, and it's a strong principle that we try to follow. But with that said, I am also a very, very big advocate for strong sponsorship, strong governance, and understanding. I can tell you that, all of the projects, as long as they've had that sponsorship, governance, and, understanding at a leadership level, you get that support. And to me, especially being in IT, it's not about always IT to IT or doing IT for IT. It's about IT for the business. So making it as simple as possible for them to understand is also extremely important. And I think if you can simplify, engage, govern, and get that sponsorship, I really think you can go much further along.
I think those are great actionable inputs and strategies for leadership achievement. Anna, your perspective on this, and also if you can add things that somebody who has personally also helped you in this journey.
So my perspective on that is, well, I think about it as, running marathon, and I've done those, two of those in my life. So it's very much about keeping up the energy, and for me, one of the things that motivate me, and one of my mentors and leaders has used that technique, is giving people challenges that you can, well, be successful in, at the same time learn. So that's what I'm trying to do, motivating my team with the challenges that then they can achieve and I would say fulfill these objectives, building on the strengths they've got.
Awesome. Teresa, your perspective on this?
Yeah, my mind was racing, but my family is, sort of that inspiration to me all the time, and my friends, that's my core, and that's where I live, and that's why, I work. But if I think about what we've said here, is one of the things that, to move forward or to bring new ideas and all of that, I've always, when I've had those opportunities or continue to, having at least 2 advocates in the room, taking that conversation before you bring it out to 25 people or to your leaders, float it with 2 other people that can be your advocates in the room. So when you do start having that conversation and presenting things and new ideas and getting into that role where you have opportunity to influence, bring those other people in the room and have them help you get your idea through, or already have vetted it through them. So that helps you get further along, and then you get that feedback beforehand, and really that shows leadership and all of these things, because you're having a conversation that, first of all, you're comfortable with because you've already vetted it with 2 people, and now you're able to move that idea forward, or that whatever it is you're trying to do forward. So that's one of my key points, I think, when I think about how I've gotten ahead and how I've brought new ideas and had that opportunity and that visibility when it comes to my when I have that opportunity. So
sure. Teresa, thank you for that. And in fact, before I probably ask my final question, which is a little bit of looking forward from here onwards, I also had just one more question in between, and that's kind of give your perspective on what has helped you, from a balancing act, because each of you all have with highly accomplishment in your career and profession. There's got to be something that you may have actually used which has helped you in staying sane, staying focused, staying driven. It could be something very personal, music, sports, art. Just want to get something which probably also plays along building of this leadership skills from your perspective. Would love to hear from you, ABJ.
Yeah, so my answer to this started off as a joke, but over the years it turned into a true fact, right? And really it's that family is first, right? My family comes first, and then everything else comes second. And I always say that Verizon can fire me, but my family can't fire me, so I better focus on this other side. And I've really instilled that in my team, and I find that from a balance perspective, when I think about the things that I need to do, I know that family is going to be taken care of because they're my top priority. And when I instill those same principles in my team, I feel like they give me more. That everybody understands what's important, what's second important, and we just execute on that. And I hope that makes sense. But again, started off as something that I just said one day, and now it reverberates throughout my organization, that your family comes first, everything else is secondary, but those secondary things are important and deserve your attention. And we've been fine there from a balance perspective.
Phenomenal to hear that, ABJ. Teresa, your inputs and perspective on this?
I can't reiterate more what ABJ said. That's totally where I sit and stand all the time. Family first. I think I said it earlier, work-life balance. it just doesn't work well unless you do that. So, that's what motivates me is my family. I think that having a good job has enabled my family to have opportunities that they haven't had before, and they all recognize that. Honestly, my boys do. So there's times where like mom has work, that's has to be, that comes first sometimes, but family, they know I'll always be there. So so that motivates me. So I don't know, there's many other things, but I'll kind of stay on that theme because that's where I sit. And being authentic, being real, just I think one thing that I want to add one more thing. In this time of COVID, I've recognized, and I start every meeting off just asking, hey, how are you? There's a lot going on in the world. If you need time away, do it. I'm like, this is not the time for me to, I know we have deadlines and we always will have deadlines, but I'm not doing brain surgery and I'm not a frontline worker. If you need that support or you need to move on, please do that. So that has even come deeper and stronger with my team, and they all know that. That's the first thing in every meeting I start off with.
Awesome, Teresa, and I'm sure your team loves you for that approach. Anna, your perspective on this question?
Absolutely, family is number one. But number two for me is sport. This is a way for me to burn all the stress that, is just part of our job, especially when we used to travel and all that, jet lag things. That's where sport really helps. And again, is integral part of my life. But what I'm also trying, to do, and it's just part of the true me, is just sense of humor. And with my team, with my coworkers, if there is a joke to be told, that's something I would definitely do.
Excellent. So humor is equally important in being a good leader. I'll take that. Carolyn, your inputs and perspective on this, please.
I mean, I really can't, I would be redundant, because I think it's covered really well. But I really agree with Teresa. I mean, the fact is, with this COVID and this pandemic and just the world events, that are going on just around, it's so important to, take some time and make sure that, the people on the team are taking care of themselves, their families, etc. I can't iterate enough, being supportive, when that's needed. It goes a long way. And in the long run, I definitely see that they appreciate that and they actually come back and work even harder. So, it's been that, kind of, balance and support system that we've made across the teams to ensure that they felt that they're always covered. And that's something that I really try, to embrace, across all of the entire organization globally.
Awesome. I think I would also give my 30 seconds on this, that, some of us who have worked in for all these years in HCL and have been considered externally successful, clearly to me, if there's one thing I can say has been what has driven this success is the family, the support of the family, the strength of the family, the belief of the family. And I think that's how, we kind of help each other become what we are and grow. And I think that's, the teams feel it, because teams are an extended family itself in the organization. And that's how we work. And that's how we are able to provide the best of each other. So thank you very much for saying something which really resonated with my personal belief as well. So, now really looking forward for the next 50 years, I think it'll be really interesting, with this journey, this success having reached, there is never an end, as we all know. It'll be good to hear from you all individually, your perspective of what are you looking forward in your career going forward, and really your pursuit of a specific goal or milestones that you would like to achieve, that you would be looking forward to in this journey. Anna, since you're time zone wise the ahead of all of us.
A very, very difficult question, actually. Well, my goal when it comes to career has always been simply having an interesting and challenging job and learning new things. And job titles don't matter to me as long as this is something that keeps me motivated. So what I have on my list of New Year's, I would say, objectives, or the things I want to do, is definitely learn something new, explore what's happening in the disruptive technology area, and maybe I'll just take a few online courses to learn more about things I don't know yet. And I must say that I'm competing a bit with my 20-year-old son, who is a software developer. So that's something that motivates me even more, because he knows the things I've not heard of yet.
Well,
so learning and simply keep growing and keep being up to date with everything that is happening in the IT industry. That's my plan.
Okay, so really what you're saying is the continuous learning, continuous development. That's
Absolutely.
Really what you would like to be looking forward to, and everything else will kind of start falling in place in any case.
That's the foundation for everything else.
Awesome. Agreed. Carolyn, your inputs, perspective, your story.
So, a couple things, from my career perspective, I've worked on many different aspects, but one of the things in the not so distant future, actually in mid 21, will actually be a spinoff and a startup of a whole entire company. So that's the first time that I've actually been involved, in that situation, in helping, establish, a completely women's owned pharma company called Organon. And we've been spending a lot of time over the past year and a half in really building that, so I'm very excited to see, obviously the official spinoff and actually moving that forward. With that said, I think just like, Anna said, I want to continue to learn. I do not claim to know it all. I know that there's technologies that are coming fast and furious, but I still think that there's a lot to do in regard to just user experience in general, and being able to make that, much more simpler, much more user friendly, especially for the business. So I think that's where, my focus is, and really looking forward to kind of making a difference in those spaces.
That's awesome, Carolyn, because I know I read how you take every element of employee experience similar to a consumer experience.
Yeah.
That's a big task and a tall task. And I have seen and experienced this on the Verizon front also. And so, APJ, your perspective on your journey looking forward in your career, and really what is driving you ahead?
So I am about 6 months into a new job, so I don't have anything new on the radar yet. I need to wrap my arms around this one, and right now I'm sort of pushing water uphill. So when I make it to the top of the hill, I'll be ready to see what's next for me. But Carolyn really hit the nail on the head when you talk about the user experience. That's where my focus is. That's where it's been for 25 years, because I started as a call center rep, right? Taking care of external customers. And I've been taking care of internals for about 23 years. And we're not where I want us to be yet, but I see it. I see it on the horizon, and we're taking steps to get there. So that'll be my focus for the next 12 to 18 months at least.
Teresa, your journey ahead.
Oh yeah, my journey ahead's a lot, right? You already know TiVo-Xperi. We're still in the midst of an M&A and working through that. We also have a separation ahead of us too, right? We're working through that. So I have an opportunity to be a part of transformation and all of those things. So to me, that's super looking forward things, being very myopic. And then I just recently took over the e-commerce window. So I have a lot to do there. I think my big thing, though, if I look about what I want to do, is complexity. I feel like IT sometimes we deliver too much complexity and it costs more and it's hard and it takes a lot to maintain and we're not as agile. And maybe that's my personal experience in the past few years or 10 years. I want to work to simplify that. And I have some initiatives going on right now to do that. What does this landscape look like and what does our roadmap look like and how can we be more configurable and less development and all of that, because in the end that helps our business, right? I have an obligation to make sure our products continue to sell and all that, and I'm a part of that. And if it takes me 5 months to deliver something and I need to get a product out sooner and we take forever to do IT, that doesn't help the business. So that's my big goal, is how do we be less friction and more, hey, let's move forward and make this happen faster. So those are some of my immediate goals, when I think looking forward. As far as my career path, it's kind of just happened. And I think I've been lucky. And I think luck, we forget that sometimes happens. But, I just have had great opportunities and I hope they just keep coming. And I think they will, as long as I keep doing what I'm doing. So.
Well, thank you very much for that, Teresa. Also, as I was thinking of all the answers and the responses, I can almost say that this isn't a great input for just young women. I'll be very honest, this will be great input for every young working professional who have to balance life, work life and family life as well, or friends and family, as well as career. So everything that you've said will be great inputs for young women. But I would say in today's times, for the younger folks, any young person can learn and use this rich experience of all of y'all. So before I say once again formally thank you to you, can I ask, this is just which has come to my mind right now. If you have to say, if you're in front of, and in HCL, you can easily be in front of 100,000 or 10,000 young women and girls in a town hall, and you have to say something to them in one sentence, all associated towards, they can be each one of you in some time. What would you like to tell them in one sentence? Anyone can start.
I'll start.
Anyway.
So my sentence would be, take more risk, jump on opportunities.
Very good. Very good. Excellent, Anna. Anybody for the next one?
I'm going to repeat something that Teresa has said a couple times, and that is be your authentic self. That is so important, to show up as who you are, because it's hard to keep track of this other person that you're trying to pretend to be.
Okay,
right?
So be authentic. Now, Teresa, you can't say that.
I know, because, she took it. I was like jumping on that.
Oh, man,
I'm just kidding. I think it's great. Yeah. I am going to say respect yourself as well as others as you move through your career.
Awesome. Carolyn?
And I would just add, the time is now. There is no better time than now to take advantage, and to be relevant, to be visible, and take those opportunities, because, the doors are opened and now it's time for us to kind of, continue down those paths. So.
Awesome. So yes, you can. Yes, you can. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. First of all, once again, congratulations. But it's an honor. And I've learned a lot. And really, I can hopefully, if I could go back in time, I would also love to implement some of your advice going forward, for sure, at least.